Listen, the biggest question, I guess, is the blue line. And for the longest time, we've been saying, what the hell are they going to do at the end of training camp with these 9 guys on one ways? Well, unfortunately, they might not have to make that decision because of the Dylan Samberg injury. Murat, this could be 6 to 8 weeks. I mean, we could be talking about the end of November, worst case scenario, based on that timeline. What's the best course of moving forward without such an important guy in that top 4 in Dylan Samberg based on the players available to Scott Arniel?
I mean, I don't think fans are going to like this answer, but I think the best case moving forward is just to reframe your expectations. There is no player that's going to step into tough minutes alongside Neal Pionk and do what Dylan Samberg did. We were so very impressed with Hayden Fleury last year, going from long shot to make the team to the third pair. He was great there. And then in the top 4, well, he and Neal Pionk went against tough opposition and got smoked. They were outscored 9-5. They were outshot, I think it was 104-81. Like, this was a pairing that was buried in their own zone against top 6 competition. So if you promote Fleury again, I don't think you do it expecting that pair to be able to play its normal tough minutes that Samberg does and beat it the way that Samberg normally does. That is a problem. The other problem is there's no obvious solution. I mean, I can pick apart those numbers and say, okay, well, Fleury is a capable third pairing defenseman, and in the top 4, he's out of his element a little bit. But then what would you say about Logan Stanley if they try him in that situation? Or his pivots against the speed and skill of the top 6 on other teams? That's going to be a problem. Vili Heinola, a long shot to make the team and have a really solid impact or even win a job. Is he going to end up in that role? No, I don't think that's what's going to happen. Are you going to ask Colin Miller to play on his offhand side? There really aren't ways for me to look at this and say the Jets are going to plug somebody in, the chemistry is going to be amazing, and they're going to win those matchups. It's going to be about mitigating how tough it is, treading water, and hoping that by, Samberg's return, Adam Lowry's return, whatever else it's all going to be, that they're in a spot where now their healthy lineup can take over and drag them back towards the top of the Western Conference standings.
I won't hold you to this, but if you had to guess today about that opening night lineup on the blue line, I mean, I think we can lock in Morrissey and DeMello. We know that Neal Pionk will be playing with somebody. How does the rest of the if you had to take a guess right now, what do you think Arnie's filling out that timesheet?
Yeah, I'm going with past history, and I'm going to suggest that Hayden Fleury reunites with Neal Pionk on that second pair. And if that's the case, Luke Shen, for me, has been the anchor of the third pair. I think that Logan Stanley is probably first in line on account of his place in the depth chart, fact that he's a lefty. I don't think they're immediately going to make Colin Miller play on his offhand side, though I do like Miller. I don't think it's Vili Heinola. So yeah, I'm saying Fleury and Pionk, and then I am saying
Shen Stanley pairing.
That's what I am guessing today.
Yeah, that is that certainly has some things going for that pairing, but it would also be might be a bit of a white knuckle ride at times if those guys are out for the Winnipeg Jets. I am interested. We've seen a lot more of Vili over the last kind of week or so. He played some big minutes last night, got a chance to work in on the power play. How much do you think this Samberg injury changes, if anything, for Vili? And might this extended period of time, I don't think it's going to be the same lineup each and every night. Is this maybe a little bit of an opening for him to get a chance to play at some point and maybe show that he's a better option than a couple of the other guys they have in that spot while they're not forced to throw him on waivers?
Yeah, it's, the one thing you're sure of if you're thinking about Vili Heinola is anything can happen to impact his trajectory. Like when he was 18 years old and the Jets drafted him in June, I think we were all, Trouba had been traded, right? So that helped bring the pick back that got Heinola. Murat and Myers signing elsewhere. We could have predicted that. Dustin Byfuglien's sudden disappearance. Nobody saw that coming. Nathan Beaulieu was hurt. Josh Morrissey missed some time as well. I think Dmitry Kulikov had to step away from the team. That was a thin Jets lineup. And all of a sudden you have Vili Heinola playing as an 18-year-old scoring his first goal against Pittsburgh well faster than anybody would have imagined. The seas parted for him. And then to see what's happened since then, where the seas don't part for him, he gets called up and not played, or COVID was complicated for a lot of people, but to be on the taxi squad for over a month and not play at the AHL or NHL level, it was pretty. He's had great luck and awful luck. And then you get into the injuries, all that sort of stuff. So somebody put it to me, what if this situation with Samberg's injury is just one more way for him to have an NHL job but never get into the lineup? Wouldn't that just be part of Vili Heinola's track record? I'll end that thought just by saying there is one way it could work out really well for him. And it's if you like that stylistic opposite of Vili Heinola and Luke Shen on that third pair, where Shen's the heavy duty, where Heinola's the puck movement. If there's chemistry, if there's a rotation that gets Heinola even a look there, maybe that opens up. But I still see him as 8 of 8 amongst Jets' healthy blue liners.
Yeah, I'm here for listen, I'm dubious on a Stanley Shen pairing. I mean, I could see Stanley playing with Colin Miller if that's the way they go. But I mean, if Luke Shen is in the lineup, I mean, I think I'd have some time for seeing Colin Miller play on the left side. It's not like it hasn't happened before, or giving Vili a bit of a chance to see if he can do. Because Murat, I mean, when you look at the Stan Shenley pairing, like, listen, it won't be fun to go in front of the net, and the coaches will love and all that. But I mean, just getting the puck out of your own zone to me could be a significant challenge at times.
Yeah, I think that would be an item for that pairing for sure. Shen was a little bit better at exit passes than maybe I anticipated when he came over.
That's fair.
But that, I think they did get buried in their zone at times during the playoffs. And I mean, Shen was hurt as well. And all that, it wasn't a good look, to be honest. And I think that teams could get to the front of the net, even if they have to face some pain there, because the breakdowns would just be there. The coverage would have lapses in it, and then the foot speed wouldn't be there to kind of get back into space. I think there'd be a lot of chances against there. One of Arneal's options, or Dean Chenoweth's options, if you prefer, would be a rotation where sometimes it is Stanley Miller, sometimes it's Heinola Shen, and then you ideally get a little bit more complementary skill sets amongst that. But, you know, I'll believe that when I see it. I think that there's a depth chart and a pecking order, and I guess I'm just approaching it with curiosity. I'm trying to keep an open mind.
Murat, I have to ask you about just your reaction. What was the sticker shock yesterday when you saw the tweet that Kaprizov got 17 a year for 8 years with the Minnesota Wild?
I think, yeah. What would you call that? 2 metric Connor Hellebucks? like
It's Hellebuck and Scheifele.
Yeah, put those two together. I mean, I think we've all been expecting sticker shock because we already had to go through he turned down 16 million and it's going to be more than that. So that's there. There is sticker shock to it for me. And I think that will be part of my response to it. The other thing is, another strong part of the response is that it's going to be so much easier for players who are really good, but not Kaprizov good, to ask for not 17 million, but most of that, like 12, 13, 14. You're going to see some secondary star players earning that kind of money because Kaprizov has served to stretch things out a little bit. And I think that might change the dynamic a little bit for the next few years. If you know of any high profile 90 plus point pending UFA forwards that you want to talk about, I think that it might impact their deals as well. Like, that's going to change the game a little bit. And then the other takeaway specifically with Kaprizov for me is just Minnesota wanted their guy, didn't want him to walk to UFA, has been clear they didn't want to get outbid by any NHL team. That wasn't ever going to come between them. He was number one, and he was willing to walk if need be. You put that all together and you have a situation where they really had to pony up to keep their guy, and that's going to be a decision that defines their franchise for the next 8 seasons. If you're looking at Winnipeg, you're grateful that Hellebuck and Scheifele signed when they did. I mean, things are changing, and I guess, just thinking about Winnipeg as well, I assume they go 8 with Connor if they can. Is there a world in which they go short term? Is there like, I don't know. The timing of how these cap increases have happened and how these UFA contracts have come about could accidentally define what a lot of the competition looks like over the next few years, just because of how much each team had to pay its guy to keep him.
Hey, there's been many reports that it seems to be like, the Jets and Kyle Connor, working towards getting this deal done, and they're having many conversations. We keep on hearing it's the structure of the contract. I mean, not necessarily maybe the AAV or the length of the term, but the structure, which to me says bonuses. And I mean, say what you want about the money that Kaprizov's getting a year. Apparently, it's also structured with a $1 million base salary and $16 million check when he shows up at the start of the year every year. Why do you think the structure of the contract is problematic, if you will, for the Winnipeg Jets?
Yeah, it's a great question. And if you want to talk about reports of bonuses being important, go back to 2 weeks ago on your own show. We were talking about it. So that's something that I've sort of written about at some amount of length at The Athletic now, and I think it is a really important question. I think from a player agent's point of view, I'll leave Connor out of this. I'm not inside Connor's head, but you can make some assumptions from an agent's point of view that the goal is to put as much money in your client's hands as possible. You might care a little bit about the AAV. You might care about where that makes a player in the pecking order league-wide. You might want the team to be able to build around him depending on what the client wants for himself and for his team. But mostly, you want to make your client as much money as you can. And one of the ways to do that, other than just a really high annual value, is signing bonuses. And absolutely right, 16 of $17 million on average is signing bonus, if I recall correctly. Even for the first 3 years of Kaprizov, if I remember this from Puckpedia, it's something like 18 million is signing bonus. To get that money in a lump sum at the beginning, a little bit front loaded, but all at once to kick off the year, well, you want to get into wealth generation and wealth management. I'm sure that Kaprizov has a team of people who can turn that into an inordinate amount of wealth relative to if he just got his salary and is like in increments over the course of each year of that deal. That matters. That can generate even more wealth than an extreme amount of wealth that's coming into him. You look at Vegas with Mitch Marner, who I think of as as a superior player to Kyle Connor. Well, 11 out of his 12 million on average is signing bonus. Or I think this year it's 11 million signing bonus that he got already heading into this. And that's one way that agents get money in their clients' hands and then help generate extra wealth. It's like you win the lottery. Do you want the lump sum or the annual payout? Same kind of deal. The math, as long as you're not going to burn it all, favors taking it all at once. The Jets have never operated this way. You look for those signing bonuses in Connor Hellebuck's deal, Mark Scheifele's deal, Josh Morrissey's deal. You will not find them. And I don't mean you won't find $18 million worth of signing bonus. It's you won't find $1 million worth of signing bonus in that. And that is an organizational policy. I don't know the ins and outs of why that go into that I think the Jets are going to have to break to lock Connor down long term. And I think that that's something that is playing into this grinded out, figure out the structure negotiation that they're having.
Yeah, and listen, I mean, I know it's easy, and I brought this up with John, but you can say, well, they've got, the richest owner. I mean, just give them the money. It's just as far as operating a business with a budget. Oh, this is your season tickets. This is what we're going to make. These are all our revenue streams. To cut that check on July 1st before, I don't even think I've made my second season ticket payment at that point on there. I mean, essentially what you're talking about is, I mean, unless you're just sitting there on $100 million or whatever, that is part of the cash flow of the organization, you got to get that somewhere. And it's essentially, it's like you got to borrow. And I think it would become much more costly for teams that don't have that, that fund, if you will. And I think the Jets from day one have always operated as any other business was, not kind of going into the tickle trunk, if you will, for David Thompson's spare change.
Yeah, 100%. I want to say it's a book called The Road to Hockeytown, which breaks down the Red Wings sort of dynasty when they were outspending teams in the late 90s. I want to say that's where this idea came from for me. But I think on the outside, we assume that these extremely wealthy people have that kind of cash flow and are willing to drop it at a moment's notice if the circumstances need. And in practice, moving things around is more difficult. This is well above my knowledge level, to be clear, but I think comes from that book. I think it might be in Behind the Moves by Craig Custance as well. There is a real challenge in some cases in those situations. It's not as automatic. And again, I don't know the Thompson finances or how Mark Chipman's approaching this or what have you. But I think that is a real thing. And I think that is playing a role in the Kyle Connor negotiations. It would be the first deal of its kind for Winnipeg if all of a sudden you found a substantial signing bonus in it.